Welcome back, Tribe. I have one here from Valuetainment saying millennials complain the American dream is dead and to not fall for it. So PPD has kind of been missing the mark lately, and it just seems like this is another one where these older guys, man, are just completely disconnected about the realities of trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps in the world that we're living in today. The game is no longer the same, and for a lot of men, it's almost impossible to get ahead. But we're multi-millionaires going to tell us how you're not bootstrapping hard enough, young man. Let's see. I'm curious how off the mark they are.
People now say it's impossible to achieve the American dream. Again, the headline, how do you feel right now? I agree. If you said I agree, you just gave up and they win, right? Listen, majority believe American dream is unattainable. A Newsweek poll reveals that 54% of Americans think it's increasingly difficult to achieve middle-class status. Among millennials, 57 find the middle class unachievable, followed by 59% of Gen Xers, 48% of Gen Zs, and 51% of baby boomers. This perception...
I cover that in my second channel. There's a video I did. It literally starts off with statistics like this. Most Americans now, over half, don't believe the American dream is attainable. For all COVID, inflation, stagnant wages, jobs shipped overseas. I can go on and on and on. Your special interests from politicians are no longer in your interest. Your representatives don't represent you. American dream where? Of course, a multimillionaire is going to tell you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, bro. If it was me, I could get through the mud. I could get it anyway. Doesn't matter how poor I'd be. It's all mentality, bro. Yes, to a certain extent, it takes grit like that. It takes that kind of ambition. And yes, there are individuals that you could pluck them into less than ideal situations and they can succeed regardless. That's not the average, though.
Is reinforced by who? Not an expert, by a TikTok user like Inc., who said, I cannot afford to live anywhere alone despite earning 3 times the federal minimum wage. Changing economic realities, the middle class in the U.S. have been shrinking, with Pew Research noticing a decline from 61% of households in 1971 to 51% in 2023. And Vivian, a former Wall Street Street employee known as Your Rich BFF on TikTok, highlighted that the traditional American dream is outdated, stating, we cannot use the same playbook our parents gave us to live life today. The shifts toward lower paying service jobs and automation has exacerbated this trend. Tom, your thoughts? I got a lot of thoughts on this, but I want to hear yours first.
So whenever I see American dream, I always say to people, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? You know, I feel like I'm in an episode of The Princess Bride. That word doesn't mean what you think it means. You know, inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Right. So when I say American dream, I said, what do you mean? What does that mean to you? What are you trying to achieve? Because if you automatically paint a wall in front of yourself and say, well, that's the American dream, I can never get over the wall, that's a negative thinking. So the question is, what does that mean for you? What do you mean American dream?
Why do they sound like the government? Did you see how they're like, well, we got to define the American dream. A house, white picket fence, 2 kids, a wife that could stay at home and cook. All of this was achievable on a factory job. That was quintessential middle-class America. That was the American dream. Let's not beat around the bush and bullshit about we put a wall in front of ourselves and we're going to have to define this. And if you limit your thinking this way, and that's bullshit. We know exactly what the American dream meant. That's what was promised to everybody. If you came to the land of opportunity and worked your ass off, you could have all of that. It's all been sold out from under us. Let's see the excuses.
What did you just talk about? Positive forward planning and optimism.
Yes.
Pat, you know what? I want to look forward and see maybe I find a 3-bedroom place to put myself in a preparation zone for being married and having a kid. That is a positive forward thought. But in the American dream, well, I can't do the American dream. Maybe it's, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do what my parents did, have 2 kids before they were 30 years old, me being one of them, right? And bought a house in the suburbs. Well, maybe you're not going to be able to do that. Why? The suburbs are different. The cities are different. They're being rebuilt. Housing is in a different place.
So then the American dream is dead then. So that's essentially what he just said. So having what my parents had is no longer possible. That's literally an example of American dream he just gave, and it's dead. Okay.
Hear this. I say, what do you mean, what is American dream? It's the American dream for you. So how do you improve yourself?
Holy
how
shit.
do you
Yes, let's readjust those expectations downwards. The American dream is now living in a box, in a studio, or maybe renting out a place with your boys, or having roommates for the rest of your life, or always working odd jobs in the gig economy that we're in, with fake job listings that are numerous to find online, but the companies are never hiring. It's like magic that there's so many job applications, but no company will hire you. And when they do, they rather hire 2 people to avoid paying healthcare and all those other things that a full-time employee, all the benefits that they would get. Such horse shit. Feeding you bullshit.
Optimistically prepare forward. And yes, there are things like inflation that if you sit there like a frog boiled in a pot, you look around and go, oh my gosh, I can't afford this. That's very true. And you should proactively evaluate the leaders you vote for and vote for the people you think are going to make it better. Meanwhile, back to you, where do you go? So when I look at the American dream, it's what are people defining as the American dream?
Oh my God.
If it's
semantics.
Living like your great grandparents did, coming home from World War II, doing this, and this, or living like your parents did in the 70s, live in the suburbs and do this, and this. No, it's going to be different. It's a different generation. It's a different time in America. So I think you have to positively set up what is your own dream and what is your vision for your career and how to find side hustles and do things.
Bro, it's the basics. Can we have a family? Can we afford to buy a home? Can we afford to have kids? And is a job enough to sustain a family? And the answer is none of that to everybody right now working.
Things that put yourself in a better position. That's what I think about it. And the American dream, I think a lot of times is an election year ploy to get people to think negative. Oh, you'll never be able to do what my grandparents did.
Very well put, Tom. I'm sorry, Adam. I have so much thoughts on this.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Well, I'll tell you, the old American dream is dead, straight up. But when one door closes, another door opens. The new American dream is as alive and as vibrant.
Leaving the United States. The new American dream is leaving the United States and making the power of the dollar actually work for you for once, instead of slaving away 40 plus, 80 plus hours just to make ends meet barely and still not having any work-life balance. No good health insurance, no ability to have a house to start a family with. I mean, every cost, runaway out of control inflation. People are being destroyed. And people are learning that if they go overseas, their dollar literally 3x's, 4x's, and you could live and have all the amenities you currently do in the United States because the rest of the world has modernized, and there is no longer an insane advantage of living in the United States. Crazy.
As ever. It just depends on what your definition of the American dream is.
Come on, man.
In the day, in the 80s, there used to be a phrase, tell me if you're familiar with this, Tom, you probably remember this, he who dies with the most toys wins. Remember that? Where you
it was a pop culture T-shirt. It was, it was a consumption mindset. It was a,
bingo, consumption mindset. You needed
conspicuous consumption, so people see what you've got.
Exactly. So you needed to have the house, you needed to have the cars, you needed the picket fence, you needed the 2.2 kids, you needed to have the dog. Everything needed. You worked at the same company for 40 years. There was no turnover.
Do you see? So everybody knows what the American dream is. So stop trying to redefine this shit. 2 kids. White picket fence, big house, yard, big dog, beautiful wife. She could stay at home. Your factory job was enough. So stop bullshitting people. We all know exactly what the American dream is.
Everything was the quote unquote American dream. Well, that's changed. Especially for young people. The cost of living, the math don't math anymore. So everyone has the same big 3 expenses. I've said this before: housing, transportation, and food and beverage. If you just do what everyone has always done and just have your house, have your mortgage, have your car, have your car payment, go out, eat once a week, buy lunch, food and beverage, the math doesn't add up. You will be broke. So you have to do something differently. The whole name of these games today is having financial freedom. That's all it is. Whether you want to move, whether you want to work remote, whether you want to take a job elsewhere, whether you want to get married, whether you want to have kids, that's up to you. And then that's the money side of things. The other component of things is, what's the dynamic of relationships these days? I feel like there's a lot of confusion out there with men and women. Is the future female? Do girls run the world, or does the patriarchy run the world? Which one is it? I feel like there's a lot of men out there that are confused, especially young men, as what their role is in society. Back in the day, men got value from their brawn and their muscles and being a provider and being a protector. Most men are working in an office right now. You're not protecting shit. You don't necessarily have to provide anything. A lot of women are saying, I don't need no man. I got my own bag. Okay, good luck with that. Let me know how the Chelsea Handler lifestyle works out for you. So men are confused. And then women are confused because they're like, well, should I get married and have kids? Should I work till I'm 40 and become a millionaire? How does this work? Like the whole Harrison Butker speech that he gave in front of that college was very apropos of where we're at these days. On the day these women are graduating, he's like, hey, listen, a little hot tip for you. The guys don't really care about your job. Go ahead and have some kids. People are having less kids in America.
Where are you going?
I'm saying American dream has changed, and you need to define what the American dream is to you. Don't let that define what you think it should be.
Okay.
He's basically like coping to himself. You have no family, bro. You are a multimillionaire above 40 years old. You traded the consumption, hedonist lifestyle for what you could have had as a family. PPD is doing it right in terms of having a family, but his take, I don't know how grounded he is into the reality of the average man today trying to make it and have the basics, the bare essentials.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
I just remember, you remember George Carlin, what he said? Yeah. He said about the American dream, he said the reason they call it the American dream is because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Yeah. And by the way, and I've listened to all of those jokes, and I've listened to all of these, shots that I can't do this and poor me and all this other stuff. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of my kids when kids talk like that. Adults shouldn't talk like that. My kids talk like that. You know what the sentence starts off with? What's the 2 words? What's the 3 words? Give me the 3 words.
Why can't I?
No, it's the 3 words that kids use. It's not fair. It's not fair. A grown man shouldn't use those words because what you're doing is you're giving the other person power. What you're indirectly saying is, I'm helpless. You're not. So for me, a part of this is, I'll give you the true side that this is factual, but it's mathematical that it's true. And then the other side is that you're choosing to accept it. One of the biggest fights I ever had with my dad is, he'll remember this. My dad and I were sitting and we're talking about marriage. And he had married my mother twice, and he had divorced my mother twice. Let me say that one more time. I told this story the other day, yesterday in New York. They're like, I've never heard that before, to the chief, investment officer, Charmaine, right? The Persian lady, really very, very smart lady, very successful, sharp. By the way. Yeah.
Really sharp.
I say, yeah, my mother and my father got married, boom, 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 boom. So it's really, yeah. I said, so he would say, let me tell you, marriage is this, and marriage is that, and woman this, and woman. I'm like, listen, do you want grandkids? Of course I want grandkids. The way you're talking to me, you will never get grandkids from me. What are you talking about? Dude, you got 3 other siblings. You got 2 brothers, Johnny and Victor. I love them. And you got a sister, Ellen. Guess what? What? None of them gave me a cousin. They all live past their 60s. How come I don't have a cousin? Guys, I got 4 uncles and aunties. I got 1 cousin. How the hell is that possible? Did you guys hear what I just said? Mm-hmm. I got 4 uncles. I got 3 uncles and I got 1 auntie. My mom's got a brother. Had 1 kid. He's the only one that had a kid. I said, do you want me to give you grandkids or no? Then stop saying this kind of stuff. I don't want to hear this language. This language is constantly like you're discouraging me from wanting to take the risk of having a family. Do you know how hard marriage is? Oh my God, it's hard. You never hear me talk about how easy marriage is. When have you ever heard me say marriage is easy? It's not easy. Being a parent, is it easy? No. Oh my God, it's tough. 10 out of 10 times I do it all over again. With the hard, with the challenge, and with the sleepless nights, with all of it. It's not supposed to be easy. But I'm not going, oh my God, feel sorry for me because I'm married and I got kids and all this other stuff. That's the language of a child. And adults, we don't speak that way. By the way, all of us have. Do you know why we speak that way? Do you know why we speak that way? It's not fair. Why does the other guy get a promotion, not me? It's not fair. Why does the other guy get the right eyeballs and not me? It's not fair. Why is the other guy that get the nice, they share his YouTube channel on the cover of YouTube. How come they don't share our podcast?
I get what he's talking about. Defeatist mentality, 100% on board with what he's saying. True. Don't speak ill of yourself. The warrior within will hear everything. You're essentially authoring your own destruction. This is true. But it's also true that you got to put in 10x the effort compared to previous generations just to have what they had. You do have to work harder today and get less. You do have to bust your ass in outside the box thinking and bring home income in abstract ways that wasn't available to prior generations to survive in the world today. You do have to utilize potentially the power of the internet. Online businesses, on and on and on the list goes. The economy has changed. You can't rely on the factory job anymore. They're all left for China. It's true. Things have gotten a lot more difficult. We are a service economy now. We no longer really produce anything, very little. So yeah, it's going to be much harder for you. You have tools that allow you to make lateral moves in this world, aka the internet, and do things that were not possible before. But let's not bullshit and say the typical go to college, graduate, get job, get a house, get a car, get a family is still the path that most Americans could take, or it's even viable for them. Most kids, the reality is with runaway inflation and cost of housing and schooling and all that is you graduate college with a mortgage on your back that's not dischargeable. Your woman is probably graduating college with a mortgage on her back that's not dischargeable. Those are just your student loans. Then both of you need to come together and work. Both of you need to work to sustain any modicum of middle class America. And we're not even factoring kids yet, because you're both going to need transportation, which the average car payment now has reached $600, $700 in the United States. Median rent is $2,000. By the way, I don't know what the payments are in student loans, but if you're pushing $50,000 to $100,000 on the loan, again, it's a mortgage, so probably $2,000 a month. The interest payments alone are just killing you. You're going to be paying that for years on years on years. Now we have to add, again, the mortgage, the transportation. Oops, just had a baby, because they want you to have one. You would like to have one. And now you have childcare that's already eating into probably half of your woman's income. So she's going to work to give half away to daycare.
It's just not fair.
And you still need to save probably 25% of your income. That's financial advice and wisdom. They say a quarter of your paycheck, you need to put where after healthcare, after gas, after groceries. Where do you find this money to put aside? People are living paycheck to paycheck. Over half of them, 70-something% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck because they can't even have more than $400 in their savings account. Americans don't have, listen to this shit. Listen to this. We're living on debt and credit cards. Listen to me. Most Americans don't have $400 for an emergency expenditure like going to the hospital. Your $400 just seeing the doctor will disappear. You can't afford to call an ambulance. They're over $1,000. You can't afford an ambulance to take you to the emergency room if you're having a fucking heart attack. Where does the mentality come in of gotta get after it, gotta grind, help you in this economic shithole that we're in? There's only one viable solution for you, and that's leaving the United States. The American dream is leaving. The only thing you can do for your long-term stability, health, is getting out. And this is where the grind comes in, because this is where the light at the end of the tunnel is. You can grind your whole life away in America and you'll be left with fucking nothing because you're living check to check. Or you can grind out, go to school, get your education, learn some skill that you can be applied remotely, start online businesses, and get the fuck out. That's the American dream. Go live in Thailand, go live in the Philippines. You can buy properties for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 condos on your Western salary. If you've managed to start an online business, and I'm not saying this like, oh, it's also easy to start an online business, but dude, with the power of the internet and the vast global market we're in today, with the advent of AI, you can start a business. You can design a store shop with AI. Use ChatGPT to make you shirt logos. Use Midjourney. Start figuring out how to utilize these. There's plenty of people that have started Etsy shops or have started Shopify stores, similar like to the one that I have. You just input all the data. The AI will spit you out a perfect shirt design. And now you just have to figure out marketing or make a shorts channel. Repurpose videos like these, my videos, whatever it is, news, stuff that are happening. There are people that are making tens of thousands of dollars a month, literally repurposing videos and turning them into shorts. There are AI programs, it's called like Opus Clips. It'll go through the entire video by itself using AI and language models and all that, and already clip a video for you. You can have a 3-hour podcast clipped 50 different shorts or short form content that you could post across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you get paid. There's guys literally making $20,000, $30,000 a month. All they do is go on the favorite streamers, clip shorts. Go on the major news networks, clip shorts. If you can build shit with your hand, you get a store, you market it, reach out to some YouTubers, pay them for marketing, whatever it is, somebody with an audience with reach, send your products out. Maybe you can make chairs. Maybe you're good with woodworking. Maybe you're one of those resin dudes that are making crazy stuff. There's no limit to what you could do with an online business and the skills you've acquired in life. If you have no skills, fucking get some. Your livelihood depends on it. This whole working for a company 40 years and retiring with a fat fucking pension is gone. Those are the bootstraps they're talking about. You will be relegated to destitution if you follow the old model. So yes, you can escape, but escaping means leaving or going to a very small town. If you don't want to leave the United States, you got to go to a very small town with your online business. There's millions of other ideas, guys. You just have to think outside the box. Is it doable? Yes. Do you have to work super hard? Yes. Are you going to get as much out as your father or grandfather did with the amount of effort he put in? Absolutely not. That day is gone. We're living in new times and it requires new strategies. It's true. I'm all for what PPD has said up until this point, but the complaints are justified.
What do you mean? We all do it. Don't fall for that trap. I think we're being throttled. What's the word? Like our channel's
shadow banned.
We're being shadow banned and throttled. Then change the way you communicate. Maybe you're too. What's the word?
Extreme, or
you're too extreme, or maybe you're too
Conspiratorial?
Yeah. Maybe you're too much. It's a different word I wanted to use. Like, what's that's like too exaggerating, too
hyperbolic?
No, it's a different word. It's you're too sensational. You're too sensational, bro. Maybe tone it down a little bit. And by the way, you know, when I hear professional people speak, do you know how everybody speaks when I was at Goldman? Yeah, so on this floor, what we have is this. And let me share with you why we decided to put this thing on the 12th floor, on the 11th floor. On the 41st floor, we have this. And it's like, well, what do you think? Well, because, you know, when you think about it, here's what's going on. And you're hearing these meetings. Mm-hmm. And you're hearing, how long have you been with the company? 41 years. How long have you been with the company? 25 years. How long have the goal is to be here for this many years because this, that. What kind of money does that person make? Well, she makes around 5 to 7 million. She makes 5 to 7 million. Yes. Good for her. What does she do? What is he doing? What is David Solomon's salary? $31 million. Go Google it. What kind of money he's got? What do you think the stock of Goldman's worth? What do you think these guys are doing? Oh, let's start, you know, so these guys are this. But they probably brought down the level of emotionalness and they increased the score of reasonable, making better decisions, ended up succeeding in their lives. You don't have to sit there and agree with them politically. They made good choices. So I'm going to wrap it up here for you guys to be thinking about this part. Do you know, since I got out of the Army, 21 years old, very interesting stat most people don't know about. Every year since 21 years old, Vinny, every year, I've gone to 4 business conferences every year. Since 21 years old, 4 business conferences every year. Tony Robbins, Tom Hopkins, in conference. Every year, 4 business conferences every year. What did that do to me? You know what's the thing about every business conference you go to? What's going to be 30 to 50% of messaging? Stop making excuses. You can recreate yourself. Go read some business books. You can find a way to get better. You can choose to lead. And you're kind of like, dude, like, but you don't understand. My parents got through 2 divorces. Stop making excuses. I hate you. No problem. You're still going to go back to your life. Is it going to be good for you to keep hating me? Do something about your life. He's right. See, that's the thing that people have to choose. First business book I wrote, it was called 25 Laws for Doing the Impossible. It was 3 steps. Recreate yourself. Step number 1, it's 10 keys. Number 2, identify your cause. What's the cause you want to, what's the sword people say you want to?
Plant your flag.
Plant your flag. Yeah, what is your cause? I identify my cause. Boom. Last one. Go make history. And law number 25, make a bold move. What's a bold move? I'm going to move to such and such. I'm going to stop doing this. You're going to stop doing that? I am. There's no way you could do that. Watch me. I went 17 months without sex at 24 years old. My friends are like, you're out of your mind. I'm like, don't invite me to clubs. I'm done. There's no way you can pull it off. You'll never pull it off. I did. This is how life works, folks. Okay? Go right there to the second one. Actually, you know what? Let me see what the first one looks like. You have to zoom in a little bit. If it's that one, we'll use this one. What you'll notice is after the first 12 years, you don't see a sudden change. It's the same amount of money. Look at that right there. If you invest, what is it, $1,000 investment? At year 10, what difference do you notice between 2%, 4%, 6%, 7%, 8%, 9%? 0. Mm-hmm. What do you notice at year 20?
Skyrockets when you...
What do you notice at year 30? You're not even in the same league.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not even in the same league. Here's why, folks. The reason for it is if I'm obsessed with improving myself and reading books at a pace of 36 a year, you read 2 books a year and you're consuming a bunch of bullshit content all year long. Then I'm reading good books. You're reading romance novels. I'm around people that have big plans.
Okay, yeah. So his lesson here is compounding interest in your decisions you make in life, just like the graph where your money grows exponentially every year, the compound effect. Okay, something they should have taught everyone in school, but they don't. Yes, good actions reverberate into your future. They turn into good habits turn into good results turn into a whole different life for you that you could have never imagined. This is true. Yes, fixing your mentality is super important. Yes, having discipline changes everything. Yes, having a direction and a goal and a path in life is what you need. However, the young men of today don't have any of these things. They don't know what a man is supposed to be. They have no mentors. Schooling is tooled specifically for women. They're being demonized in the media. They're talking about toxic masculinity. Anything traditional is toxic in general. Being stoic is toxic masculinity and bad for men. Ambition, competition, all that stuff is being beat out of them. The reason young men are saying it's not fair is because you, at least in your generation, knew what a man was and what a man was supposed to do and how he was supposed to go about his business. These young guys today, they're being indoctrinated, they're being demoralized, and they're being made to feel like there's something wrong with them for being a man or having urges that a man would have. Believe me, I've been getting messages from a ton of these men that say, I wish I had a big brother like you in life. I wish I had a man that would teach me these things. I wish I was around mentors that were men that had the knowledge you had. They were raised in feminine households where only the mother was present, no father, no direction, no boundaries, no idea of what consequences are. Some guys are raised in households where the man is present, but he's a walking wallet, spineless toad. No good example of a man where the woman is running the household and the boys end up turning out completely lost because they don't understand what their role is in life. They become people pleasers. They can't handle stress. They can't persevere through obstacles and chase their goals long term. Their brains are hijacked by porn. Brains are hijacked by video games. Constant dopamine hits. I want it now. Cheap hit. Now. Not taught how to strive for the harder things in life because the happiness and contentment you derive from accomplishing difficult things is far deeper than those cheap dopamine hits of now. You stick a tablet in a young boy's face, you'll destroy his life. Begins there. They can't focus in school. They're distracted from even using their own brains. How is a kid in this state, a young boy, supposed to find his purpose in life? And on top of that, everything he consumes tells him he's the bad guy, tells him how he needs to change, how he needs to be more feminine, how society expects a young boy to act. This is the problem today. It's not about, it's not fair, millennials complaining, the dream is dead. The dream is dead, as multiple people have said in this podcast. But the more insidious side of this is we're living in a femme-centric society that punishes you for being a boy, punishes you for being masculine, punishes everything about traditional masculinity in general. The American Psychological Association literally says Stoicism is equated with toxic masculinity, and they're trying to change the gender norms, the expectations of what a man is supposed to be. Ambition, competition, stoicism, managing your emotions positively, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. I mean, Boy Scouts. We've lost Boy Scouts. If you weren't paying attention, a ruling passed not too long ago where girls had to be allowed in the Boy Scouts for diversity and inclusion. They're not even called the Boy Scouts anymore. Boys can't even go in the woods, build fires, set traps, make shit, earn their badges, feel like they belong, part of a group, have mentors around them, teach them basics. That's gone. Jesus, nobody wants to talk about what we're doing to masculinity, what we're doing to boys. Why am I the only one bringing up this fucking society's problems? We're alienating young men. They cannot survive in the economy today. They have no tools in their bag to reach for to help them navigate the world. Nobody says shit. Oh my God, can you be more disconnected? The lives we had, what we grew up with is no longer present in the average man today. It's gone. The young boys today are more lost than they've ever been. Have you seen the attitude, the temperature of college campuses today to be a young man in a college campus today? Holy shit, man. This is the part that annoys me the most about videos like this. PPD, the mentality thing is great. It's hard to have that when you didn't have a father present. It's hard to have that when you had an overbearing feminist mother. It's hard to have that when you lived in a broken family. Nobody wants to talk about the state of society. All of this underpinned by economics. Because we can't have the old American dream anymore. Daddy's no longer present. You don't have an older brother or an older sister, anybody to look after, or for you to be the older one that had to step into and fill those shoes of being the example of the house. None of that shit. You have a tablet in your face. Fuck off to school. Mom's too tired. She's working 3 jobs to make ends meet. All your other friends are messed up in the head just the same way. You're all addicted to porn and video games. It's accessible from your phone since you're a child. And we want to act like this is all okay. Slog through it all, young man. You'll do fine. Don't worry. It's all the power of the mind. And it is. But you have no mentor to help you. How the fuck can you realize what's wrong when you're surrounded by all the wrong people? This is the message they don't want to tell you. This is why they destroy men's spaces so much. I can go on and on about this bullshit. Let's see what they say. Sorry, the American dream is not available for the majority of people. When I was in school, I was told that if you work hard, be moral, and things will work out. That worked for 90% of the population. You didn't have to have a high IQ or a side hustle or silver spoon in your mouth. Today, we have to scramble harder than any previous generation currently living. You also have to be incredibly lucky. Although it can work out, the realization that it's not working for 90% of the people should be a wake-up call for all of us. A real American dream wouldn't require a side hustle or working 60, 70 hours at your job. That's the thing that they don't understand. See, look, 4 rich guys out of touch with regular Americans. The kind of hustle and the mentality they're talking about is to become a top 1%er. How about What does it take to just become an average American? The average middle-class American that owned all those things from the American dream. You didn't have to do 70 fucking hours at your job. You didn't have to have 6 side hustles or go to 4 business conferences every year. Yes, if you want to be a multi-millionaire like PPD and the level of all these guys, super successful like this, sure, these are the things you have to do. But for normal, average, everyday Americans, some people want to be cops, some want to be firefighters, some want to be doctors, accountants, lawyers, the dude building your fucking roof, the guy with the little plaster company. All of the normal jobs that require society to function should be able to afford you the house, the car, the kids, the wife. It doesn't anymore. That's the fucking problem. See, look, as a millennial, the American dream is to leave America while still making USD. And then another comment saying, Pat, your fortune is estimated. Dude, this guy's worth $350 million. Your environment is completely disconnected from reality, from your social circle of friends to your professional life, to the acquisition of everything you want. Villas, luxury cars, expensive watches, so on. I understand that you took risks, persevered, and never gave up, and it finally paid off for you. I may be an optimist, but rationally, it's impossible for most people to reach the dream. Exactly. This is by far the worst take I've ever heard on this channel, and they're all in agreement somehow. Where's the voice of reason and facts in this case? The American working class has seen their factories and jobs offshored along with the decimation of their purchasing power. Compare the economics of this decade with any that preceded it is at best dishonest. Jeez, man. Ridiculous. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And by the way, for guys that are interested in going overseas, I'm in Bucharest currently. I do videos all on the second channel. Maybe in talks about opening up some kind of private concierge of helping guys come through something in the distant future. We'll see, to help guys go overseas, go through all the paperwork, all that stuff, and maybe offering some personalized service of that manner. Time will tell. For right now, I do private consults if you're interested. Private community chats that you see on that second channel all the time. Appreciate everybody that supports and does that stuff. If you have questions and need something more personalized, all the links to all that stuff is in the description below. As always, my friends, a lot of bullshit going around. Try to keep your head up above the water. Find some light at the end of the tunnel. I did. For me, it was going overseas. And I do a literal walk around Bucharest just so you could see what life could look like for you. I highly recommend you click on that video. It's a walking tour. It's me and my woman. And just look at the difference. And I'm telling you, imagine prices being 3 times cheaper. A third. Imagine shit being a third of what you're paying in the United States right now. Imagine if you could have your remote salary or a United States or Western salary in general, whatever that means, you can get by very well here. People here earn from $400 to $1,200 a month. If you made $2,000 a month, you would live great. You can rent apartments like the one behind me. They come fully furnished. It's less than $1,000. They go for $450 to $500 a month to rent. Anyways, if you are interested in all that stuff and want to learn more about life overseas, click on those videos above. I'll be curious to read your comments on this one. We'll see you guys on the next one.